everybody, it's Vanilla. Things are going to be a bit different in this video than usual because I've found a script. Is it going to make things better? Probably not. More interesting? Maybe. You saw the title of this video. I'm playing pokerogue and I'm not playing it properly. Do I ever play things properly? No, not really. Doing stuff the way you're supposed to is just boring to me. I feel like someone's telling me what to do and that makes me upset. Ain't no one gonna tell me what to do. Just sitting here and thinking that I need to pick certain Pokemon to be able to win is dumb. I'm gonna take a stand and say no more to boring team comps. I want to be consistently on the edge of my seat, wondering whether or not Skitty's gonna land that 80% chance on Fury Swipes, and then ripping out all my fur when it inevitably misses. That's the way I want to live. Or maybe it's when RNGesus decides to throw my entire team of normal types in construction just because he can, and I sit there praying I'm fast enough to avoid getting smeared across the concrete by Girder. But we're not gonna be held back by the restraints of movesets. Heck, we won't even be held back by limited abilities, a lack of different types, or stats. We will give underpicked and underestimated Pokemon the love they deserve, and that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna prove to you that these underestimated Pokemon can do what the Meta Slaves can, and we're gonna climb in pokerogue using only dog and cat Pokemon. Let us begin. But first, I'm not a fool. Goofy, yes, but a fool, no. And this wasn't easy, and honestly, I was talking a lot of talk just then when I say they can do what the Meta Slaves can. I need to clarify, what exactly are we doing? Well, I'm gonna optimize my team so that way I don't get absolutely blasted. Building a team comp based entirely around mostly normal type Pokemon leaves you with a huge weakness, and that would be fighting type Pokemon. And maybe it's just because I'm bad, but I'm very convinced this game looks at your team every battle and is like, how can I make this as painful as possible? Because I swear I've never been countered so hard in my life. For whatever reason, the game seems to favor throwing me in construction with all of the fighting types. If I don't end up lost in a construction site for 4 floors, it will just put in Pokemon that completely counter me in an area they really shouldn't be in. Why am I running into a Hawlucha and Sandygast in lakes? Who knows, but you better have some dark and fairy type moves ready. Not to mention, our rival Finn doesn't mess around either. This guy takes advantage of those of us with memory issues, because I swear 90% of the time, he doesn't end with the same Pokemon that he starts with. He'll remove Pokemon and add others in depending on my team comp, but he's omnipotent because he's able to magically add in Pokemon that counter you completely. Finn will just show up with a Goldango and a Durlodon. He started with Tepig. Where did he get them from? Who knows? You've been in constructions for the past 10 floors. So we've identified our problem. Now what do we do about it? Well, that's a wonderful question. We have a couple of things we need to take care of. If the Pokemon we're choosing from have poor IVs and unfavorable natures, it's going to be painful no matter how powerful they can be, so we got to try to take care of that. For some Pokemon, that's relatively simple. I like adding in Lillipup onto my team because of Statlin's high health and defense, since fighting type moves are mostly physical. Oftentimes, Lillipup shows up in towns and plains, which is where you typically start off, so it's pretty easy to get different stats and IVs. However, for a Pokemon like Eevee, the encounter rate is really low in the overworld, like abysmally low. Eevee is a complicated pick because it's not entirely clear what form you're going to be able to get during a run. If you pick natures intending on using a particular form, it may take forever to evolve, save for getting lucky and running into the evolution stones. You're going to end up with Espeon 90% of the time and maybe Umbreon like once. I was lucky enough to be able to evolve Eevee into something other than Espeon twice in my entire time of recording this game. I'm not entirely sure why Espeon is favored. I assume it happens when Eevee hits a particular level in a zone when it's sunny. But ideally, you'd like to pick a nature for an Eevee based off of Espeon, but good luck with that. So those are 2 of our starting Pokemon. Who else do we have to choose from? We can choose Furfrou, which is actually a really dope pick. Furfrou has the ability Fur Coat, which halves the damage of physical type attacks, and when the game is deciding to choose construction worker as your preferred occupation, it makes a huge difference. Furfrou's stats are balanced to begin with. High speed and decent special defense and attack make it a really strong pick. Its high speed is super useful when Unpheasant with Super Luck shows up because you won't be OTK'd by Air Cutter. At this point, you can only really pick 3 of these Pokemon since adding any more will exceed the 10-point limit. There are a couple other options to choose from, such as Skitty and Fido, but I wasn't particularly impressed with either of them. All of their stats were so low that they'd be OTK'd on the first 2 floors. Then they would be severely underleveled because they were fainted the whole time. Their base moves weren't super helpful either, so I didn't get very far when I picked them. So that's 3 starting Pokemon. And we're definitely not going to get very far with just the 3. So to add more options, we're going to explore the exact definition of a dog and a cat. If dog and cat are friend-shaped, anything that is vaguely friend-shaped can be a dog or a cat, like rodents. I will not be taking any questions or criticisms on this definition. Using this new and 100% factual definition of dog and cat, What Pokemon can we choose? Well, the most accessible option would be Squovit, and luckily that's a pretty bomb pick. Greedent is a chunky monkey and has a bunch of health. Its defense and attack stats are also pretty good. The only downside is that it's slow, but that's not too much of a problem because it can tank a good majority of hits with little issue. What less accessible option in the dog, cat, rodent category is Palmy. Not only is Palmy a super cute pancake, it has the OP combination of high attack and high speed. This deadly combo of high speed and high damage is something that was the downfall of my team countless times, especially since my EVs only had natures that decrease speed. Espeon was almost an essential pick because psychic types are able to counter fighting types. But that being said, the game would pick up on that and make the second most encountered Pokemon type Dark type to counter Espeon. Sometimes my normal types would be able to learn fighting type moves, but wouldn't be able to receive the resulting same type damage bonus. And this made a world of a difference because as you proceed further, the Pokemon gets substantially more difficult to beat. Call me soft, but the difficulty curve is a bit steep after the third floor. I'm not exactly sure how it's fair to have enemies that are somehow able to have 3 to 5 battle items equipped at a time. How am I supposed to compete with that when most of the time I only have the option of 2 Ethers, 5 Great Balls, or 1 Max Lure? Sure, I could reroll, but where do I get the money to reroll from? I can pick up nuggets, but then I might not be able to pick up a battle item. Or even worse, I may have to heal from a random battle 2 encounters in where the enemy team used tarot cards to choose their entire team to counter me. Given all of this information, how far can we get and how likely is it that you can do it more than once? Given everything we just talked about, I think it's surprisingly viable to only use cat, dog, and friend-shaped Pokemon. I think you have a unique advantage if you use mostly normal types. A surprising amount of normal type Pokemon can learn weird TMs and can combat counters to other type Pokemon on your team. Abilities are also super important to consider. I talked before about Furfro's ability, but Squovit's ability, Cheek Pouch, is super interesting in this game because of the looting mechanic. Since you can occasionally pick up berries at the end of combat, giving them to Squovit can save it from fainting if its HP gets too low. Since most berry effects trigger when the Pokemon's HP is below 50%, Squovit will consume the berry and then heal because of Cheek Pouch. Eevee's ability, Adaptability, is very useful as well because it increases the same type damage modifier from 1.5 to 2 times damage. You can get really far if you're lucky enough, but I think that's just how it is with this game in general. It's not the wild Pokemon encounters that are problematic, it's the trainers that have top tier builds. You can get really far if you're lucky enough, especially when you're out here just trying to pass through with your squad. And here they are, every 2 encounters out for blood. The boss encounters are mid for the most part, especially if they're gym leaders, because their teams usually follow their in-game teams, with a few Pokemon being added here or there. So how far can you actually get in Pokemon Rogue using dogs, cats, and definitely dog Pokemon? Well, you could probably make it much farther than me and my goldfish brain. In the nearly 10 hours of gameplay, I was only able to get floor 94, and I ended up getting diffed by a Durant with 1 HP. Sad. All my hard work, hard hours of grinding for better IVs in Pokemon, just to get beat by the Metal Ant with 1 HP. Despite my heartbreaking failure, I think that Pokemon Rogue shows that you don't need to be a meta slave to have fun and win at Pokemon. You can just have a team of dog, cat, or dog, cat Pokemon and still do well in the game. If I can take a bunch of level 5 baby Pokemon with limited access to healing items and make it through a gauntlet of mind reading AI, then you can too. So go out there, make your team of birds or chunky Pokemon, and enjoy Pokemon how you want to, and don't let the meta dictate your fun. Okay, if you made it this far, I just want to thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you sitting through this new type of video I'm doing. I hope to be able to do more long-form content like this, so I hope to see you again. And if you like this video, it would mean the world to me if you could give me a like and subscribe. So yeah, I'll see you again in my next video. Okay, bye!